guys, welcome to another episode of Glitter and Garbage. I'm Justine Marino, and I am so thrilled today. I have been teasing this episode for quite some time. You guys know I have been deep in my rewatch of the original Beverly Hills 90210, and I am so thrilled to have this guest. I'm going to try and keep my cool, but I really am like screaming on the inside. Actor, producer, awesome human being. I love him so much. He's one of my favorite actors from when I was like 8 years old. Please welcome Ian Ziering.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that rousing
introduction. I know. Fill it in. Fill the room.
There's nobody here.
There's no one here.
But I appreciate the enthusiasm.
Yes.
I appreciate the your kind words. So
well,
thanks. It's great to be here, Justine.
I'm so thrilled that you agreed to do this pod. We did not know each other prior.
We have a common denominator.
We do.
Sammy Weiser.
Sammy Weiser, who has been on this podcast many times. Mm-hmm. She's a Glitterati favorite. I also love her dad, John, and her mom, Jill, who you are close friends with.
I've known them for my whole life.
It was so funny to make this discovery because, you know, as I said, I'm older than Sammy. I'm an elder millennial. So our frame of reference is so different. Like at my birthday party, we all found out she does not know who Sharon Stone is. Like she didn't, like we were like, Sharon Stone, she's like, who's that? And we were like, get out of the party right now. But I was rewatching 90210 and I've been putting up clips and she just casually slides into my DMs and is like, oh, my uncle plays Steve Sanders. I was like, bury the lead on this friendship much. What? So crazy.
Yeah.
And are you her godfather?
I am.
That's insane. I've seen pictures of you with her as a baby. It's so cute. So she was like, let me see if I can get him on. And you luckily agreed to come on this Person You Don't Know's podcast.
You know, there's nothing I wouldn't do for family. So,
well, I appreciate it.
I hope I'm not making a mistake.
No, yeah. What? Cut to.
We'll see.
We'll see how it goes.
I looked at your podcast and you do a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate
very
it.
Enthusiastic and a bright light, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, look, I am a millennial. My whole personality is 90s pop culture, basically.
Wow.
And 90210 is kind of the crux, if I'm being honest.
We kind of had a pretty big footprint in the 90s, all the 90s, as a matter of fact.
You did, absolutely. Now, I started watching the show way too young, but I'm probably season 2 or so. But I'm so curious and I'm so excited.
Wait, when you say young, how old were you?
I think I was probably like 8 or 9.
Because I've got daughters that are 11 and 13, and I haven't really perused the episodes with them yet. I'm not sure when is the right time to do that, but eventually, it's funny, my oldest me, I said, you know, if you want to know why everyone's coming up to me all the time, you want to see the show? She's like, not really. Right? Like, okay, kid.
That's so funny.
That's okay.
Oh, that's great. Well, I will be one of those people coming up to you all the time. I love the show so much. I'm so excited to just get to sit down and ask you all the questions that I've always just had as a fan, and rewatching it now as an adult is so interesting. I have such a different perspective because when I was younger, I just looked up to you guys. I thought you guys were so cool. Now that I've lived through high school, I see just how important and what a great show it was. I mean, just dealing with things that teenagers deal with.
Yeah. One thing that it showed me was that young adults everywhere, regardless of race or language or religion, young adults all over the world deal with the same interpersonal challenges, whether it's school or family or whatever, you know, we're really all the same. Yeah. So our show was a very issue-oriented, substantive show that dealt with, you know, what was happening in this young adult life.
Sure.
That people just really could relate to.
Yeah.
You know, and we were popular in like 150 countries around the world.
Yeah.
Dubbed into countless countries and subtitled in others, and people come up to me from all walks of life, from all parts of the world, telling me how much the show meant to them, how it changed their lives, how it, you know, some parts of Eastern Europe, how it gave them hope for a better future. Yeah. And now they live here because of 90210, and now they're blown away that I'm standing here in front of them. And it's, I'm very proud to have been a part of a project that touched so many people in
Yeah.
a positive way.
In such a positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I watched it through the entire run, like from 8 to 18, basically.
Wow.
And
But you missed the first couple seasons.
yes, I did. So I had to go back and rewatch. So I guess maybe I started watching at 9, 10, and then it was still probably a little too young.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask right out the gate, one thing that I think is so fun about hearing early casting stuff. I auditioned for Gossip Girl. Spoiler alert, did not get it. But, it all worked out. Shocking.
You're perfect.
I know. Thank you. I appreciate that. But if that had happened, I wouldn't be here with you. So it's like everything happens for a reason. Was Steve the first and only character you went in for? Because sometimes you'll hear, really?
Oh, yeah.
You were always just Steve. I mean, you are so Steve. Who else would you be?
When I think I am Steve.
Yeah.
I mean, when I read the character, it had been about 18 months since I had had a job, and times were tough.
Yeah.
I had a townhouse in Morristown, New Jersey that
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to purchase with money that I made on a soap opera, and there was quite a big dry spot. I didn't just want a job; I needed a job.
Right.
Graduated college, and I'd been out to California. I'd taken my spring semesters off several times to come out for pilot season, and made a lot of commercials. That was great, but didn't really secure anything theatrical, and would go back. And the last time I had been out here was like 1987, right around there. I was just so frustrated at just not being able to get in rooms, not being able to be considered for parts that I felt I would crush.
Yeah.
And then seeing all the douchebaggery around town, like women at that early age were just focused on their careers. Meeting girls was tough. If you tell them you're an actor, they're like, see ya.
Yeah.
Because everyone in this town is.
Yeah.
And, standing in line waiting to get into a bar to see some buddy from a soap opera walk to the front of the line with 6 girls and get let in. Well, it's just like, screw this. So I went back to New York thinking that if it's going to happen, it's going to happen out of New York. I liked the sensibilities of the East Coast. People seem to be more ambitious and eager to fend for themselves rather than to stand on the shoulders of others to get where they need. And I kind of like that. That's where I was raised. And I tell my agent, like, I'm not going back there. If it happens, it'll happen here. It's like, okay, well, just know I've got an audition for you for the class of Beverly Hills. And if you get it, it shoots in California. And by the way, if you get it, they're going to start shooting really soon. So I said, right, well, can't turn down an offer I haven't heard.
Yeah.
And I had to drive into New York City because we didn't have computers to download the script.
Sure.
You had to go in and pick up what's called your sides, your scenes.
Oh, you had to go in and pick them up.
Yeah, but they were giving you the whole script because we were going to be put on tape with Tim Hunter, who was the director of the first episode. And I drove into New York, and I remember the casting office or where I was to pick up my script was somewhere on Madison Avenue, and I parked the car and I'm walking down the street, and I walk up these stairs to the second floor, and there's this big office, and there's nobody in there, but there's a stack of scripts, and there's a sign-in sheet, one of those legal pads. And by the way, there's 50 lines on a legal pad.
Yeah.
And no one had been there, and there was a sign that said, sign in and take a script. And I said, hello? And then someone in another office said, yeah, just sign in and take a script. And I'm hearing that. I'm looking at the stack of scripts. I'm looking at the 50 opportunities for other people to sign in. So I sign in. I write Ben Dover, and I grabbed all the scripts. And I bailed with all the scripts.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm like running down Madison Avenue waiting for somebody to tap me on the shoulder. No one stopped me.
Oh my God.
I get home and I tear the script apart to the scenes that I need. I was working with a scene study partner that I had, and worked on it for several hours. I really wanted this. I really needed this job. And once I had it in there and I could go off book, then I went to sleep. And the next morning, my audition is in New York City, and I show up, And everyone's there looking, hey, is there any sides? There was no scripts there last time. I'm like, yeah, I need one too, because
I also didn't get the sides or any scripts.
Yeah. Well, it's not show friendship, it's show business.
You got it, yeah.
And while I'll admit it probably was not the ethical thing to do,
but it was the Steve thing to do.
Desperate times call for desperate measures.
Yeah.
And, I crushed the audition. My agent says, look, they want to screen test you. You have to fly out to LA. They're going to screen test you at the Fox studios. And I'm like, great, let's do this. He says, well, pack your bags, because if you get it, they're starting shooting 3 days later. I said, high class problem. Pack my bags.
Yeah.
Backpack, whatever. And I get out there, and they put us up at the Hyatt on Sunset. And it's across from the House of Blues that used to be there.
I perform at the Comedy Store all the time, so I know that hotel very well. It's the Andes now,
So I'm sitting on the end of my bed. I'm like, okay, and I'm watching TV, and Cops was on, and there was this woman who was beat up by her boyfriend, and she was like, the cops went into the room, and she's like hiding underneath the bedspread, and I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the bedspread. It was in the hotel. It was kind of weird that like that Cops episode happened in the hotel room that I was in. But anyway, I just brushed it off, went to the studio the next day, and there were two other guys. I was 26 years old, 25, that were also auditioning for Steve. One of my competitors was darker than I. He had like dark hair, more olive skin. And the other guy was a taller, bigger, blonde guy. And they made us sit in the hallway outside the casting office. And the dude I was sitting next to, the dark-haired guy, was saying his lines out loud. And I'm like I'm as close to him as you. And I'm like, bro, I can hear you, okay? And by the way, you're saying it all wrong. Just to get in his head a little bit. And he's like, anyway, he quieted down.
You said that. You said that to him.
Yeah.
This is like, I love this story so much.
If you want to achieve your goals, you have to be persistent and sometimes ruthless in attaining them. So it's like, I'm going to use every measure I can to do what I need to do. So the blonde dude, he's down the hall and he's doing push-ups. I respect this process, whatever. Me, I'm sitting in, crisscross applesauce. I had Vaseline on my gums because, every once in a while you get these auditions and all of a sudden, they're not cool. And I learned from some beauty pageant that like if you put Vaseline on your gums and your mouth will stay fluid. So like I wasn't worried about anything, and I'm just trying to breathe. I had it all in there. The dark-haired kid goes in, and I can hear through the door. It sounds like he's killing in the room. They're laughing, and he's in there for an inordinate amount of time, and I'm like, dude, it's 5 pages. What the hell's going on? And he comes out. He's got this look on his face like he doesn't know if he's had brain surgery or not. He didn't reek of confidence. He reeked of insecurity. So maybe they were laughing at him or with him. Maybe it was a courtesy laugh. Whatever it was, I didn't have to deal with his energy because I felt like I owned him at that point. And then I go in. And I do my 3 scenes. And Aaron Spelling says, oh, Ian, that was great. And the casting agent says, oh, Ian flew all the way from New Jersey for this. Oh, thanks so much for coming. Which is the kiss of death. You hear thanks for coming? It's the kiss. So I was like, oh, okay, well, thank you. It's great to be here. And by the way, it was a small room. There must have been 15, 20 people in it. Aaron Spelling, Barry Diller was there. Peter Chernin, I think, was in the room. Sandy Gershaw was in the room. Darren Starr. All the executives. This was a screen test, and it was a live studio audience kind of screen test in a small office. And I did the best I could. I accomplished everything I set out to do. And I thanked them. I said, look, I really believe in this project. If I don't get it, I'm still going to watch. I'm a big fan. Thanks so much for your time. And I walked out. And then the blonde dude passes me as he's going in, and he says, so how'd it go? I'm like, it went great.
I love it. Ian, you are a shark, and I respect it.
I think they hired the right Steve.
Yeah.
You know, and I
think
brought
they
a
did.
lot of that to the character. Certainly the words supported it, but
Who booked?
the early beginnings, yeah.
That's so great.
And even before then, you know, feeling a bit desperate, my brother's in advertising specialty, so
Yeah.
I had these magnets made up, and it was just in the shape of a foot, just the silhouette of what a foot would look on it, and it had a little imprint of toes, so you could put your business, like if you were a foot doctor kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I put Ian Ziering, now that I got my foot in the door, and then my agent's phone number, and I had these magnets. Whenever I would go into a room, I would say, oh, thanks so much for coming, and just leave it on the end of their desk, and not to hand it to them, but for them to find later.
Yeah.
And I got a couple callbacks from that. Hey, man, I got your magnet. That was pretty cool.
Amazing.
Got to do things to stand out.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
It's so
you
true.
got to make room for yourself, because people are not going to make room for you.
It's true. When you think about how many people, I remember one of my early acting teachers said everyone comes to LA or New York, and they're the best. They're the best in the world. They're at the top of their game. So you do have to stand out.
Yeah.
That reminds me of when I started stand up, I would bring cupcakes. I would make cupcakes and bring them to every show. And I was like, well, at least if people don't like the comedy, they'll like the cupcakes and they'll book me again. And it worked. I mean, to this day, people ask, why don't you bring the cupcakes anymore? And I'm like, well, I got funny. I don't feel like I need to bring them anymore.
I don't need to bribe people anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna like me on my own.
Yeah, but I think it's important to differentiate yourself and to just do that little.
You've got to do something.
You've got to. I love it. Early on the merch. I love that.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember any of the scenes that were part of that very first audition?
Yeah, it was all the pilot stuff.
Yeah.
So Kelly Taylor, she's the biggest bitch in all of Beverly Hills. Yeah.
All the iconic stuff.
Yeah.
Now, it's interesting because on paper, all of these characters, they're kind of archetypes, right? Like there's Andrea's a little bit of a nerd. Steve is a little bit of a spoiled rich kid, you think, at first. Dylan's the bad boy. You know, Brandon's kind of the good guy with the heart of gold. He's always got some cause he's fighting for. But you guys played them, and the writing, and I think it's probably a little bit of both, but with such complexity. Like on paper, Steve could almost be an unlikable guy a little
I hated
bit.
Steve Sanders.
And I mean, Andrea in one episode calls him a spoiled slut. I don't know if you remember that. A few episodes into season 1, I had to rewind it. I was sending it to Sam.
Spoiled slut.
Spoiled slut. She was like, Steve Sanders is a spoiled slut. And it was just, I was like, yes, I love it. But
That's very funny.
you bring so much heart and humanity to him. And I feel like you guys were all such great actors that you were able to really fill out and breathe life into these characters that could potentially have been a little bit more two-dimensional, you know?
Yeah.
So how did you breathe that kind of humanity into Steve?
You know, Steve was, when we first met him, very spoiled.
Yes.
You know, he was a victim of poor parenting, as we later found out. His parents adopted him because it was the cool thing to do in Hollywood at the time.
Yeah.
And they didn't really nurture him. They just paid him. They gave him money to buy his way, to do whatever he wants. Oh, here's some money, honey. Go have fun. And didn't really invest what really is most important, and that's time when you're raising a kid. So he flew by the seat of his pants. You know, he found that with a smile and $100 bill, he could pretty much do whatever he wanted to do. And, you know, he was clever enough to be beguiling and cunning to overcome obstacles. But at the end of the day, I think he really learned his life lessons from his friends.
Yeah.
And early on, I hated Steve. It's like, come on, the audience is going to hate him. I don't like him.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I'm playing one note the whole time.
Yeah.
Spoiled rich kid. There's nothing redeeming about him. I had
Right.
a meeting with the producers. I said, I need to know why he's like this. Why don't I like? There's got to be something redeeming. Otherwise, the audience is never going to like Steve, and no one's going to care.
Yeah.
And it's going to be playing the same note. And shortly after that, the word started coming that really gave an understanding of why Steve was the way he was. And that's because that when we found out, it was like, oh, his family life made him this way.
Right.
And he was kind of neglected. So you kind of sort of towards the end of the first season when you found out that he was adopted.
Yes.
When he found out he was adopted, like, oh my God, it was such a twist that nobody saw that coming. And it kind of gave Steve a bit of a bless your heart casting a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he doesn't know.
Yeah, he doesn't know. This poor guy.
Yeah, there's really been no one to show him the ropes, and this is what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was with his relationships with the rest of the characters, with Brandon, who taught him humility, Andrea, who taught him reason, and David, who taught him how to dance.
Yeah. You always need a friend to teach you how to dance.
And Donna, the sense of humor,
Yeah.
And just how to be a good guy. He pretty much learned from the Walsh twins, the Walsh parents, Jim and Cindy.
I love, I feel like Kelly and Steve are a little similar in that way, in that they both kind of had these less than perfect Hollywood, LA kid upbringings. And I just love the stability that the Walshes offer to them. It's so sweet. You can feel the warmth. It's just, it's so interesting, again, rewatching it and just feeling all these feels again and really having a different appreciation, having had so much more life experience now.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of Kelly and Steve, Steve, spoiler alert, you guys, ends up with Janet, right?
Yep.
Your big three relationships, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, are Claire, Kelly, and Janet, I think.
Claire, Kelly, and Janet.
Now, do you think Janet was the right...
Well, there was also Carly there.
Oh, Carly. Oh, Carly. Oh, yeah, Carly.
Carly had like a 21-episode love life. But I don't think she was as impactful as Claire was.
Claire was so I loved Claire.
Yeah.
And Janet too. But there is, again, rewatching it now, I'm so rooting for Kelly and Steve. Now,
really?
Yes. There's just this sweetness. There's this mutual understanding of having this upbringing, and I just love how much their relationship changes throughout the seasons. Like initially it's a little bit antagonistic, right?
Sure.
Steve, obviously he's dealing with his unrequited feelings for her,
right.
But I love then that they really become this beautiful support system for each other.
Yeah. And
so
we've continued that in real life.
I love
Jenny
that.
and I are still very, very close.
I love that.
She's
I love
great.
that. Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I used to see her at Tybo all the time back in the early 2000s. Yeah.
When there was Tybo.
Yes, exactly. I used to see her at Tybo. She's very fit and great at Tybo too.
She's keeping herself in great shape.
Yeah, she looks great. Do you feel like Janet was the right choice? Or do you sometimes see a world where, maybe down the line, a couple marriages later, Steve and Kelly come back together?
It's kind of hard to put my own personal sensibilities into the character of Steve.
Yeah.
Because he was motivated by someone else's ideas.
Sure.
So whenever I got the material, it's my job to take what's great and try and elevate it even higher by adding my life to his existence.
Yeah.
So do I think Janet was the right... In terms of story, I think that first of all, Lindsay is amazing.
Incredible. I love Lindsay.
Lindsay is amazing.
And there's no wrong answer here. It's just interesting.
No, I think she was the right girl at the right time, the right character at the right time, beautifully cast. And it gave Steve, that relationship was, Steve's entire arc was the biggest out of anybody on the show, I think.
I agree.
I mean, the personal growth that he had gone through from when we first met him to the loving, caring husband, father, businessman. Like, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, no, it's a really great
It was a jungle
arc.
gym.
Yeah.
So I think in having Steve settle down, if anybody would have said who's going to be the Playboy bachelor the rest of his life, it would have been Steve Sanders.
Steve, yeah.
But other than David Silver, he well, we never even saw how David and Donna lived after, but Steve was very functional.
Yeah.
In a committed relationship and in love.
Yeah.
You know, and happy and
Yeah.
satisfied.
Yeah.
And fulfilled.
Yeah.
Never saw that coming.
Yeah.
So I think their relationship at the end was a beautiful capper to what was really an incredible roller coaster ride for me, the actor.
I agree. And I feel like I'm just on that roller coaster
Yeah.
ride with Steve right now, you know? It's great. Okay, I feel like you kind of already answered this when you said you are Steve, but
Well, we look alike.
you do. You guys do. You look a little alike. Who were you in high school? Which character? Of the 4 original guys, David, Dylan, Brandon, or Steve, who would you say you are the most like? Was it Steve?
No. I would like to think I was more like Steve, but I was never as daring.
Yeah.
I was never as audacious. I followed most of the rules.
Yeah.
You know, but
Yeah.
I was also a kid, so I would fool around once in a while. But wasn't really a Brandon
Yeah.
character. Was never a really goody two shoes. Never too much of a screw up. I don't know. For me personally, school. I started acting when I was 12 years old.
Right.
So I didn't necessarily have the same school experience as my peers. After school, I would go into New York. I lived in Jersey, so I would drive into the city.
Sure.
You know, 3-4 days a week. I didn't have an after-school experience of playing soccer or football or
Yeah.
anything. I was always doing something else. And for me, school was very difficult in my formative years because I had dyslexia. So I felt like I was always trying to play catch up and keep my grades up and, you know, make my parents proud of me at the same time. My victories came from booking things in the entertainment industry. I had a very strong social circle as a kid. My buddies that I developed friendships with at single digits, I'm still super close with today.
Nice.
And tremendous support group. I had, you know, yeah, I was not, if Ian was on the show, he wouldn't have been one of the more interesting characters, other than he was doing commercials
Sure.
and this kind of stuff. But other than that, you know, just an average kid, you
Yeah.
know, just trying to have fun, stay under the radar,
Yeah.
and, you know,
Book some jobs.
book some jobs.
Yeah, I get it. I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
business-minded from the jump.
Yeah, well, you know, when I started at 12 years old, I started doing commercials and modeling, and one thing led to another. And my mom always said, look, the moment you don't want to do this, you don't have to do it anymore. But my mom used to cut my hair like the boy on the Dutch Boy paint can. Came across like this and down in the back. And I used to book. I mean, there was one year I booked like 40 or 50 commercials
Wow.
in a year, and I'd walk in and I'd see the other kids go, oh. I just walked in thinking, well, what do they want?
Sure.
And I would try to deliver what they want, you know. I remember I booked a commercial for the Fruit of the Loom underwear.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
was so excited. Like, oh my God, I get to work, because they were stars to me. These
Yeah.
guys in the commercials, the fruits,
Yeah, the fruits were
and here I
huge.
was, like, gonna be able to work with I was 12 years old, and I was so excited, and shot the commercial. It ran for like 5 years.
Wow.
And I'm proud to say the Superband waistband snaps back wash after wash. I still have comfortable leg openings. It's great.
You still stand by it.
Yeah.
I love
you know,
it.
So my childhood was a little different.
Sure.
And certainly different from the kids on Beverly Hills
Yeah.
90210.
Yeah. Well, I think most people's were different than those kids driving. So you didn't drive a Corvette.
I
in
did
high
not drive a
school.
Corvette. No, there was no one in my high school. Steven Gerber had a '68 Mustang when we were when we were seniors, and everyone was like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's the coolest car ever!"
Yeah.
But nobody was driving around any new Corvettes or
Yeah.
new BMWs. Not in West Orange, New Jersey. It wasn't like that at all.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, do you have any favorite episodes? I know for me, my favorite Steve episode is the steroids episode.
The steroids, wasn't that on just recently?
I-
Because somebody told me, like, "Oh, dude, I learned everything I needed to know about steroids from your character." I'm like,
It's so true.
we made like 296 episodes, and it's funny what resonates loudest now. You know, through social media,
Yeah.
people, will light me up about it for one thing or another.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
It's kind of funny. What was it about that episode that you like so much?
Well, I just love. First of all the guys are wearing crop tops, so it's you were like
I was the chief offender. Are you kidding? I'm running down the beach with a crop top on.
I think we might have that. Aaron, can we pull it up?
Thank you very much for that.
No, but I have been.
There you go.
I mean, Steve's fashion is iconic. Can we talk about it?
Did I not have a mirror? Was there no friend of mine telling me, like, dude, why are you buttoning that top button? I thought I was doing something different.
Honestly, I love fashion. I'm very into fashion, and I like the top button buttoned. I feel like this is how they would wear it today. I
don't see anybody wearing it.
I think I could see this. This is going to be in Urban Outfitters next week.
Right.
I swear.
The Steve Sanders collection.
Oh my God, Urban needs the Steve Sanders collection.
That's right. They should just call me.
Yeah, call him. Come on.
We can brand it. It'd be funny. The clothes, and I really have no one to blame but myself because they used to let me pick.
I was going to ask that because the clothes, you each have such a unique style in it, and I was wondering how much freedom they gave you.
Yeah, they would wheel in these clothes, and of course the wardrobe designers would pretty much landscape our look, but we would be the one to prune out the pieces. Sure. So while there was a pretty big scope, I gravitated towards like the silk shirts that had prints on them. And I remember our wardrobe designer, Molly, I said, Molly, this green shirt is great. I'd like to wear it on the beach, but can you cut the sleeves off?
Yeah.
So I could show the guns.
Yeah.
And she's like, you want to cut the sleeves off a silk shirt? I'm like, who else would do that but Steve Sanders?
Only Steve Sanders.
And I don't want it cut. I want it cut and then sewn.
Yeah.
Tailored.
Yeah.
And she's like, but she did it. And And at the end of the year, they would say, okay, you need to bring your truck in because we need to clear out all these clothes. They would let us take the clothes. They don't allow you to do that today.
No.
But I still have a couple pieces. I mean, I've given it away to
Wow.
auctions and stuff like that along the way. But there's there's like one purple silk shirt and it's got like pirate sleeves and I know I wore it with the neck button. But yeah, I've still got a few pieces of Steve Drobe.
I love Steve Drobe, and the hair was iconic as well. Yeah. I mean, because you're natural blonde, right?
Sorta.
Not everyone's a natural blonde.
Nah, I live in California, so I highlight a little bit.
Yeah. Well, it looks great. It looks great on you.
Thanks.
But then the mullet was iconic.
All me. I came to the show with a pretty decent mullet. I'd been working on a soap opera, even though that's not an excuse. It just was what the kids wore, and having this curly hair, I just remember like combing my hair with my hands from underneath and doing this and like making it was a look.
Are you, because now I'm at the point where all the early 2000s fashion, like the horrible mistakes that I made in high school are now coming back. Do you feel, the mullet is fully back, by the way.
Really? I haven't seen that.
No, it is back. It is 1,000,000%. The guys are doing the mullets.
So what public figure is wearing a mullet?
Okay, there might not be, there's got to be a musician. Aaron, can we look into some public figures?
Because I'm really thinking it's someone else who didn't have a mirror or a friend to tell him, like, dude, you might want to check that look. That fit also doesn't really work for you, but it's all you.
Well, I mean, I think you sported one of the most iconic mullets in TV history.
It's funny. Mario Lopez and I had a mullet off.
Really?
On Access, and he had to give me props. He thought my mullet was better than his. At the time, we were both wearing mullets. Mine may have been a little longer. His was a little more contained.
Yep.
But
it was so good. Yeah, it's great. I love it. I love all the it's funny because I go into my closet and I'm like, oh, I want to wear something that looks like it could have been on 90210, and all my clothes just look like that naturally.
You need like a sundress and Doc Martens.
Yes, and I have all that.
And then you could sell it. A little bit of white sock at the top of that.
Yes. That is my whole closet.
But I think the Doc Martens have to be like boots.
Yes, for sure. Oh, for sure, a boot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, back to the steroids episode, though.
Okay.
There is an amazing scene where it's gotten out that the newspaper knows about the steroid use. and one of the guys comes in and throws his duffel bag. I don't know if you remember this. You weren't in this scene, but it was right before they cut to you, and he throws it and he's like, "Coach, canceled practice again." And it's just, the drama is so
over the top.
It's so over the throwing of the duffel bag is just peak, like steroid rage. Yeah. And so I think that to me, the drama of it coupled with the crop tops, it's just something you don't see a lot. Crop tops and drama, you know?
Yeah.
Only on 90210.
Crop tops and drama.
I think that might be the name of the episode.
Perfect.
Yeah. Now, do you have a favorite episode or Steve moment? I mean,
we did so many episodes.
Yeah.
To say I liked one more than the other, it's just so challenging because, you know, when I would get the words, I would sink my teeth into it and have fun with it. You know, there was one episode where I think it was in the first season where Steve's Corvette got stolen.
Yes.
And the two girls were Playboy playmates.
They were so hot, by the way. And what's funny is they
Judy Aronson and Jules McCullough.
Now, can I ask? I feel like I've met Jules McCullough before. I think she did comedy for a minute or something. Yes, so I met Jules.
Yeah,
She's still beautiful. What I thought was interesting, I don't know if you'd know this or not, they were dressed like Kelly and Brenda. Do you know if that was intentional or just...
I think that's a sign of the times.
Sign of the times. Okay.
Yeah.
I love that episode as well. And Steve's just so trusting. He's like, "Sure, you can drive my Corvette."
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
if he thinks he's going to get some sugar or whatever,
Exactly.
you can have the keys.
I love it.
That was a fun episode. I could tell you the singular episode that I liked the least.
Okay, yeah, I love that.
Because there were so few. That one really stands out. It was an episode where Steve Sanders has a skin cancer scare.
Oh, no.
And not to make light of skin cancer, certainly go get your skin checked.
Yes, of course.
But they turned it into pretty much a public service announcement, and I'm walking around like having this public service announcement on the beach where I'm wearing a big hat and I've got like a scarf or something and gloves. Was so disingenuous to the character that I felt that he was, that like, who got paid for me to have to do this?
Yes.
I completely thought someone was on the take for this particular episode because it was such a break from Steve. And why me? Why, like,
sure,
wouldn't like Donna Martin?
Yeah, she's tanning all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, either somebody was pissed at me or maybe the pharmaceutical company that paid somebody to make that. I don't know, but it was just so disingenuous to the character.
Sure.
That I hated that. I just hated that episode.
I'll take that as an answer. That's a good answer.
Did you ever see that episode?
I did, but I'm rewatching and I'm almost through season 2 now. So it's been like 20 years since
You're
I
watching
watched
it without the music though.
Wait, which?
All the good music. We had like Luther Vandross.
Oh, yeah.
Maroon 5 on the show.
So good.
And it's not on the show anymore.
Wait.
If you're looking for DVDs or whatever they're showing on
Pluto
wherever it airs,
or Paramount Plus, I think.
It's not the original music.
It's not?
You're not going to see Brenda losing her virginity to Losing My Religion.
I know that's right.
Yeah.
That's in the song. I was like, I feel like this was an iconic song.
Oh my God, yeah.
What happened? Do you know?
Well, the music rights.
Oh, the rights.
You know, so they
just
kind of
expired?
neutered it. No, the rights were for use in that show.
Oh.
But not in perpetuity.
Streaming. Oh.
So they had to re-edit the show.
Oh no. Oh, that's a bummer.
There's no none of the original music that was licensed is usable. So they had to.
I had the soundtrack, obviously. I was a super fan.
Yeah.
And I have noticed, I'm like...
You'll never hear any of those
That's
songs
what I thought.
on the
I was
show.
like, how have I not heard any of these songs yet? Because the soundtrack was, I think, for the
was
first...
great.
It was so good.
And they
Paula
made 2 of
Abdul,
them.
Shanice, like all the great... Shanice!
Right.
Yeah. So that's a big bummer. I had no idea, though.
Yeah.
Not in the DVDs either? Wow.
I have them, though.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, he's got the hookup. He's got the Steve Drove. He's got the music apps.
Well, early on, I used to go to NAPI.
Yeah.
NAPI is the convention where they sell the shows into distribution.
Sure.
And I wanted to learn that part of the business, so I'd always go. You know, they would be happy to have me there
Yeah.
to press some flesh, to say hello to the buyers. And,
Yeah.
I got to understand how that side of the business works. But the syndicators, the people that was spelling entertainment, you know, I said, hey, could I get when this is over, could I get a full copy of the show? And they gave me a full copy of the show with all the original music in it.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. That's such a bummer, though. But I literally have been watching and I'm like, how have I not heard a single song from the soundtrack?
Right. Now you know.
Crazy. He's telling me all the tea.
Spilling the tea, baby.
Spilling the tea. Okay. You were on for the full 10-year run.
Yeah.
Only a few characters were. It was what, you, Kelly, Jenny, Tori, and
Right.
Brian, right? It was the four of you guys. Everyone else went in and out.
Yeah.
Or left and didn't come back.
Right.
Now the chemistry is so good throughout the entire run. It really is seamless. But was it difficult having new people come in and then leave? And I also want to ask, obviously Tiffany Amber Thiessen, when she came in to replace Shannon, she was quite a name herself. Had you met her? Were you a fan?
I had never met her before, but
Yeah.
Tiffany was so sweet.
Yeah.
And she still is.
Yeah.
She's such a doll. Fantastic actress.
Yeah.
Added so much to the show.
Yeah.
Came in and didn't try to fill a hole.
Yeah.
She created her own path.
Yeah, she did.
And it was great. You
Yeah.
know, Vanessa Marcel also came on and similarly.
Yeah.
You know, it was everybody who came in, it was not to replace anybody, but maybe as a diversion.
Sure.
But was strong enough to stand on their own 2 feet, where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this is just a redo of a character that's no longer there anymore.
Yeah. I think you guys did a great job. And
Thanks.
again, the chemistry is seamless. Now, speaking of chemistry, everyone on the show is attractive. We've heard about off-screen romances. Did you have any crushes on anyone when you started? Oh.
Well, yeah, they're all attractive, but
Yeah.
I was I think I was the only one that had gone to college.
Oh, really?
You know, I was a little bit older than
Yeah.
everybody else, so I'd been through college. And I made the mistake of freshman year, like the first couple weeks of being in a dorm,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
living away from my house, I kind of made out with a girl on my floor, and that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a relationship, but it just created an awkwardness.
Yeah.
For the rest of my time on that floor.
Yes.
So you don't really mess where you eat.
Okay, so you learned early.
I learned that early.
Yeah, smart.
I mean, and honestly, I was 26. I was 10 years older than Tori.
Yeah.
So it's like a little cringy to
Yeah.
go thinking like that.
Yeah,
And like,
yeah.
I was there for one reason and one reason only, and that was to put my oar in the water and pull as hard as I could with the rest of the people that are rowing the boat.
Yep.
I wasn't there to make friends, though I did.
Yeah.
Friends that have become family.
Yeah.
You know, it was all about making the best project possible. I wasn't, there was never that kind of relationship between myself and any of the.
Yeah, and I mean, you never hear anything about you. That's what I assume, because we never hear, Ian was making out with so and so at whatever club back in the day or anything. So I think you did a good job keeping it professional.
Yeah, I'd like to think my parents had a little bit to do with that, and morals and values. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm a goody two shoes, but I am saying I never got caught.
Oh, that's good. Okay, we'll take it. All right, just a couple more questions, and then I'll let you go. This has been so awesome.
No big deal. This is great. You're a doll.
Thank you. Okay, one of the most visceral experiences I had watching the show was the love triangle. One of the biggest of the 90s, I think, Brenda, Dylan, and Kelly.
Yeah.
I am a Brenda Dylan girl.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on it? I'm so curious.
Now looking back,
Yeah. And even at the time.
at the time, I just thought it made great television.
Yes.
At the time I was like, oh, this is really good. They're
Yeah.
creating tension. These
Yeah.
are interesting characters. And
It rippled. I mean, I felt like I had been cheated on. You know what I mean?
okay.
Yeah.
Really taking this personally. Dylan was, the kind of character that women gravitated towards.
Sure.
And he had this magnetism, this animal magnetism, this bad boy sensibility that every girl tries to fix. So it was understandable. And plus, Luke, really good-looking guy, played it so beautifully without really being dastardly.
Yeah.
It was part of the situation, part of the human condition at that age. It's like, look, I'm torn. He's a young man trying to figure it out, and like he's got these two girls that are into him, and I think ultimately the character of Dylan probably would be single today.
Yeah.
Because he was so messed up.
Yeah.
He probably would have left a trail of broken hearts. I think at that time, though, I saw Dylan and Brenda. Yeah, I'm like, that's just seemed to be right, because I saw Kelly and Brandon.
Me too.
Yeah.
I love Kelly and Brandon. If it's not going to be Kelly and Steve, it's Kelly and Brandon for me.
And it's also kind of like good versus evil a little bit.
And
they're both blonde and they're both dark. And it's like,
exactly,
stay in your lane kind of thing. It just seemed to,
exactly.
it just seemed to be a better connection. But I honestly didn't give too much thought to it. I just wanted it to just fan that. Play that,
it worked because the fans obviously took it very seriously.
Yeah. And there was great writing to support it too.
Absolutely. We quote,
I choose me.
I choose me.
Beautiful.
So good. I love that. And I've thought of that later in life where I'm choosing between people or, I think it's again, an important life lesson to choose what's best for yourself first.
Yeah. If you don't look out for number one, you end up stepping in number
If you
two.
don't take all the scripts so no one else can read for Steve, what are you doing? I love that. I honestly... I didn't think I could like you anymore, but it just bumped up from that.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Now, of course, it's probably still a little fresh, but Luke. We were talking about Luke a little bit. He passed away quite a few years ago. I know you said on our call.
5 years now.
Yeah, 5 years. Which I was so devastated because I was also enjoying him on Riverdale. And he was so great on that. Yeah. And then, of course, more recently, we had the passing of Shannon. Yeah. I know it's still a little fresh, but how are you doing?
It's tough to lose someone you know.
Yeah.
Friend, family, work family.
Yeah.
We bumped heads a little bit while we were working together, but over the years we had a great friendship, and it's just hurts to lose somebody. You know, there's a lot of sanctimonious people on social media that are like grilling me for not commenting on it, but I don't feel the need to project my sorrow on social media. Suffice it to say, I'm upset about this. She died way too young. It's sad for so many reasons. It's a big loss. In recent years, we would see each other as a cast at all these different Comic-Cons. And it was nice. It was like summer camp. Every time we got back together, it was like, there's just something warm in having the family together. And now that there's two of my family not there anymore, it hurts. It's sad. It's sad. For everybody that she was dear to, my heart goes out, but my heart is also broken too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's so interesting that online, these trolls who hide behind no picture, private accounts.
They don't even know her.
Yeah, exactly. They don't realize you are a real person. Everyone involved are real people with real feelings involved. If you're, if someone's parent died, you wouldn't have people grilling you about when you were going to post about it. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know why, if it's a celebrity, it's any different, So I think that's really fucked up.
Luke's passing was so sudden. I was shocked. I did post on social media because it was a way for me to to grieve.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon, it really was not a shock.
Right.
You know, she had been battling cancer for 10 years. So
Yeah.
while I always hoped she would be able to overcome it, you know, as the years progressed and as it would revisit, it braced me for the moment if it was ever to come.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more a sense of relief that she's not suffering anymore,
Yeah.
as opposed to being blindsided. I mean, I had a long build-up, so my reaction has been a little different, but
Sure.
it still hurts.
Of course, of course. And have you guys been able to lean on each other? I mean, at least you have each
we've
other.
all
That's
spoken,
great.
and
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
You know, there are no words. Grief is love with no place to go.
Yeah. Wow.
So you just got to sit with it,
Yeah.
and it affects people differently.
Yeah.
So, you know, you hold each other and you try to comfort each other, but
Yeah.
that loving energy, no place to put it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like losing anybody. It's difficult.
Yeah. Well, I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
I did not know her, but I was a huge Shannon fan.
Shannon was a fighter.
Yeah.
Shannon was an amazing woman who, you know, when we first started the show, she kind of listened to the beat of a different drummer, and not everybody understood her ways or agreed with them, me being one. But ultimately, you know, it was about the work, and she delivered great work.
Yeah.
She, oh my God, fantastic. Everybody in the show
Yeah.
is so talented.
So talented.
And irrespective of the personal relationship, you know, working together, you just put that aside.
Yeah.
And then over the years, we just matured into a really nice respect for each other and friendship and camaraderie, and I'm happy to see each other. And
Yeah.
this is with everybody, by
Yeah.
the way.
Well, that's one thing that I think is so cool is that this show is now, it premiered quite some time ago.
God, 34
Yeah. Well, yeah.
plus years ago.
Yeah. So
And we're still talking about it.
yeah, we're still talking about it. It still has such a cultural impact. And again, dealing with things way back then that we're still dealing with now, like just topics that I don't think people were talking about in regards to teens back then.
Certainly not on television.
Yes, exactly.
We were very issue-oriented, very mature in a young adult way.
Yeah.
And for a lot of the parents that would watch the show with their kids, it kind of bridged the gap in helping them discuss topics that they may have been uncomfortable discussing. In the
Absolutely.
first place.
Absolutely.
We handled it in a way that made it accessible.
Yeah. That's why I think it was a very, like watching it now, when I was younger, again, I just looked up to all you guys. I was like, I want to be cool like them in high school, you know? And then now watching it as an adult, it was an important show.
I think so.
It really was.
Yeah.
So congrats.
Thanks.
Did you know when you guys did the pilot that it was going to be what it turned into? No.
You can't.
You can't.
Possibly. As a matter of fact, all the reviews panned us.
Yeah.
I thought I'd be looking for a job real soon. I was waiting for the pickup.
Yeah.
And after the pilot came out, it was not warmly received.
Yeah.
You know, you couldn't really tell where the show was going to go
Right.
from the pilot. It seemed to be very superficial
Sure.
with stereotypical kids. And
Yep.
like, that doesn't impress anybody if you've seen it already. But it's only through giving the show a little bit of running room. I think they picked us up for 8 episodes at first, and the studio was liking what they were able to see. The writers and producers were clever enough to make it substantive enough in those initial episodes to put some hooks into people's mouths and pull their
Yeah.
attention to want a little bit more. And then I think we got a pickup of 13, and then we went
22 the
or
first season.
something like that.
Yeah.
But after that, there were like 3 years where we had double ups, and we did 36 episodes a year.
Well, yeah, and you had all the summer. I feel like
And summer episodes.
and the summer is what really catapulted you guys, wasn't it? Because everything else was old, so everyone
Everything else
started
was
watching.
in reruns.
Yes, exactly. So this was
We
the
had original
fresh
program.
Yeah.
We had original programming in the summer, where everyone's on the beach in California,
Right.
and who's not going to watch that?
Who's not going to watch Steve Sanders in a crop top, people? I love it, honestly. And look, I loved how confident, like you had the guns, you had the abs. Why not show it off? You had the tan. Let's go.
This is the niche I had to fill. So
It was an important
the right
niche
guy.
to fill. Exactly.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you guys obviously reunited on BH 90210, which
Yes.
I was devastated did not get a second season. Do you think you guys would ever come together in any way again on screen? I know you guys do conventions together.
Yeah, I who knows?
Yeah.
You know what? I would have liked to seen the show come back in its original incarnation.
Yeah.
Rather than a pseudo mockumentary
Yeah.
reality scripted show kind of thing.
Sure.
And I was pushing for that, but it all fell on deaf ears. I mean, there's something to comfort food.
Yeah. I totally agree.
And nobody wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, let's do it your way.
Yep.
And we got 6 episodes. I'm not saying that if we had gone back and did Beverly Hills 90210 the same,
Yeah.
it would have had the same impact. But I think we probably would have gotten more than 6 episodes out of it.
Yeah. But you never know. I mean, Melrose Place had that Ashley Simpson reboot in the 2006, and then we thought it was done, and then now they're coming back with a new reboot.
Oh, yeah?
With Heather and Joe and Sydney, which you were on.
I was on. I did a few of those episodes.
You were, and that's another show that we talk about quite a bit. So before we wrap up,
Oh my
yes,
God! If they bring that show back and call me to come and
Oh my
revive
God.
Steve Sanders,
Would you
I'd be
do it?
I'd be.
You have to.
Yeah, if it was a good story, why not?
Yeah, I love it. Well, I just love you guys were in the pilot. It was you, Tori, Jenny, and Brian.
Yeah.
Iconic. And I was so in this, before there was the Marvel universe, there was for me the Spelling universe. And it was
yeah.
Melrose Place, 90210, Pacific Palisades, Models Inc.
Oh,
and
so much before that.
Yes.
Spelling Goldberg, Starsky and Hutch, and all those shows.
all of it.
Aaron Spelling produced more television than just about anybody in the history of television. You can watch his stuff from beginning to end, and it would take you months
Yeah.
to see everything.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I have a lot of time to watch because I only work at night. So
Well, but this is what you do. You're a student of
I
the
am.
media. So
I really am.
It's not a waste of time.
that is true. But 90210 was going to take me a second. It's funny. I'm watching. My boyfriend's never watched, so I'm making him watch. And he made me watch The Wire during pandemic. And The Wire, he's like, The Wire is 10 episodes and 5 seasons. 90210 is like 10 seasons.
296
and,
hours.
Exactly. So
if you count the commercials. Too.
absolutely. So, but he's in. Even he's like obsessed.
Very
He loves
watchable.
it.
Do you feel like it stands up still?
I
mean,
do.
you look at it and you're not seeing cell phones.
No, I think it's great. Again, like I said, it feels like it was ahead of its time because we're
Yeah.
still dealing with so many of the issues. And again, my boyfriend, it's not like he's the target demo for 90210, but he is loving it, and he loves Steve, by the way. We're a real Steve household. All right, a couple questions that I ask everyone on the show before we wrap up.
Okay.
I brought you on to fangirl over you because I am such a fan of 90210. What do you fanboy over? Is there anything like what do you get super excited about?
I worked with Judd Hirsch on Sharknado, and I used to watch Taxi as
Yes.
a kid. I used to love that show. Oh my God.
So good.
So here I am in Sharknado, and Judd Hirsch is my taxi driver.
Incredible.
And so I had a great day with Judd Hirsch talking about Taxi and all the things that he's done since then. And, I saw Christopher Lloyd once too. Oh, Alex. 1.21 gigawatts.
Oh, I love it.
It's like, and I'm human.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of different things.
Yeah.
And when I see things that are from my childhood,
Yeah.
I go nuts.
Exactly.
Oh my God. There used to be this show called Land of the Lost.
Oh, I remember Land of the Lost.
Marshall, Will, and Holly. Mm-hmm. I'm at a Comic-Con, and Will and Holly are there. And I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it.
That's so cool.
I said, can we take a picture?
Oh,
They're
that's
like,
amazing.
Sure. And they were looking at me crazy because, it's a human experience, and I'm part of that.
Yeah.
So I'm not, immune from fanboying or going nuts over people that I appreciate their work. They've entertained me.
Yes.
At some capacity, it's because I've been moved by these people.
Yes, absolutely.
Or captivated by what they were doing. Marshall, Will, and Holly, The Land of the Lost. I used to watch that show because the Slee Stack and Chaka, and like, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
It's like a little kid, and here they are. Oh my God. Butch, the character who played Eddie Munster, I met him too. These are all old shows, so it goes way back, and all these people are much older now.
Yeah.
But it's like, I met Eddie Monster.
So
and he signed a
cool.
picture.
Oh.
Eddie Monster. Oh God.
Oh, that's so exciting. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I do all the time.
it is interesting. I do think there is something to meeting someone that you loved as a kid. There's just something a little more, because I'll see people out and about who are more current, who I'm a fan of now. Like Machine Gun Kelly was at a show of mine a couple weeks ago, and I got to meet him, and that was cool. But it's nowhere near like Ian Ziering from my favorite television show of all
so
time.
sweet.
So I really do think
Thank you, Justine.
yeah, and I mean it. And the show is so important to me. Last question. I ask everyone this. You're from the East Coast, so I feel like I have an idea of what you're going to answer. Twizzlers or Red Vines?
Twizzlers.
I've heard East Coast is Twizzlers and West Coast is Red Vines.
Yeah, they hold together a little more. They're not as mealy.
Yeah.
But it's always like, if I'm in a movie, there's going to be popcorn and peanut M&Ms.
Yeah. Oh, that's your go-to. Yeah.
That's like
I love it.
I can't avoid it. I try not to, but I smell that popcorn. It's got to go. You got to push it down with peanut M&Ms.
Yeah, of course. I get it. You're only human,
Human.
Well, Ian, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What do you have going on? What do you have coming up? How can everyone?
It's kind of tough out there.
Yeah.
Right now. So I don't sit and wait for the phone to ring, because I'll be waiting for who knows how long.
Of course, yeah.
So producing my own stuff. I'm working with some writers right now for on like short attention span content.
Nice.
Where it's a scripted show loosely based in reality about Ian. How he's rebuilding, but of course his situation is much more dire than the real me.
Yeah.
Just to give him somewhere to go to rebuild. And I really can't go into too much with that, but we're going to be out selling that real soon. We've got the pilot shot.
Oh,
it's
amazing.
It's really funny. I'm involved with a wine club, dabblein.com, if you want to check it out, because wine is always something that has been of interest to me, because I don't know anything about it. I wanted to learn more, and my partners with that go a long way into demystifying that. So that's a lot of fun, working with a technology company to bring out Dad Bod Boot Camp, where men of a certain age, can recapture some of their health and fitness and glory that their more youthful physique brought to their lives. And it's tough when you get older. I wouldn't be running in midriff today, but I wouldn't be embarrassed if I saw it.
Yeah.
But it's because I'm always mindful. It's so easy. I mean, men, especially my peers, we're so focused on executing, so focused on providing, so focused on facilitating, that we don't carve out any bandwidth for ourselves.
Right.
And if you've got kids, pizza sneaks in, burgers, McNuggets, whatever, it just sneaks in. But if you take a little bit of time and understand that you're your best investment, carve out a little bit of that bandwidth for yourself, even just small changes. You can, cut the waistline. You could deal with a lot of the things just by being the voice inside your head, being the controlling voice. A dear friend of mine, I went out to see him. It had been like a year or two. We speak all the time, but I hadn't seen him, and he was 50 pounds heavier. And I said, dude, what. You got to be kidding me. Yeah. He's like, you are fat. Well, I'm a best friend to this guy. I'm going to tell him as
you're
is.
gonna tell him.
And it's unhealthy. It's
Yeah.
not just your belly fat. It's what's inside your visceral fat.
Yeah.
And dude, if you stroke out today, the shockwave of emotion that you're going to cause because you're not being responsible,
Right.
because you don't have your hands on the reins, is going to cause such a shockwave of emotion. You have no idea the value to bring to everybody that knows you, and it's not okay.
Yeah.
And if you stroke out right now, I'm going to come find you when it's my turn to cash in my chips. I'm going to beat the shit out of
Yeah.
you. And he says, "This is it. You're not drinking for the next month," because he would start to drink a couple.
Yeah.
It's like, fuck that.
Yeah.
No way. Get your belly back where you could put a suit on,
Yeah.
be sexy naked,
Yeah.
and not worry about stroking out or
Yeah.
diabetes and
Yeah.
depression and
Yeah.
performance issues that are all of this. And in 3 months, I helped him lose 50 pounds by being accountable.
Wow.
And he says, we need to do this for other people. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, this is bigger than just you and I. I've gone through my own personal growth. I've always been into health and fitness, and I care a lot about my friends and family. And he said, we could bring this to other people with the help of AI. We can have like a dad bod boot camp. I'm like, well, what are we going to call this? He's like, dad bod boot camp.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. We've got technology now where we can have your phone take a picture of your refrigerator and point out all the things that are killing you and give you options, or put recipes together based on what you buy, or talk you through shopping in the supermarket.
Whoa.
Drip on you life hacks, and it's all through text. It's not an app. If anyone's interested in that, they can go sign up now and be one of our founding members at Dad
Amazing.
Bod Boot Camp. And it's great. We really think we're onto something. We've been talking to some men's groups, the NFL's Players Association, and these are guys that would eat 10, 12, 15,000 calories a day
Yeah.
to keep their bulk, but they'd work out.
Right.
So it wasn't fat, it
Sure.
was muscle.
Sure.
These big former herds of like huge men are now trying to come off of that lifestyle and aren't doing it successfully. But it's not just them, it's most guys. You go on a golf course and all the guys have a big belly.
Yeah.
And you show up and you're kind of ripped. They're like, they'll bust your chops.
Yeah.
And what are you doing? How
Yeah.
are you making that happen?
Yeah.
And it's really mindset. And I think that's where Dad Bod Boot Camp is going to be wildly successful. So, all this stuff came to me over COVID. I had a lot of time to sit on my ass. I was dealing with, just at the beginning of the pandemic, I cratered my family. I asked for a divorce. I wasn't happy in my relationship.
Wow.
And then the COVID pandemic occurred, and then work stopped, and then everything just fell apart. And, I'm a scrapper. I don't sit idly
Yeah.
with any content. I need to do something. So my head started thinking of different businesses that I could get involved in or start. And that's where this all came from, whether it's Dad Bod Boot Camp or this TV show we're working on, or, dabble in. We're all formulated and conceived while I had this moment to rebuild my life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well,
So big things are in store.
I love it. And
Thanks.
Dad Bod Boot Camp is like it's a good time. Dad Bod's so in right now, just
Yeah.
that phrase. So I love it.
We're certainly capitalizing on that, but at the end of the day, yourself.
Yeah.
If I'm talking to the guys that are, yourself. If you got a belly, then you're not as attractive as you could be. There might be a woman, so I love you as you are, but believe me, if you cut that belly out and showed some definition, she'd be as into you, maybe a little more, chances are.
Yeah.
And you'd be doing yourself a service because you'd be investing in yourself. And if you disappear, then your house of cards that you've built
Sure.
all falls apart.
Sure.
So you really need to shut the pie hole, pull in the drawstring a little bit and hunker down, and it could be done pretty easily. So I'm excited about all these things. And
I love
the
it.
common denominator is I'm passionate about all these things.
Great.
So if I'm passionate, then I'm tenacious.
Yep.
So we're going to make all this stuff happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
and I
thanks.
think you're just the person. I will say before we wrap, John and Sammy did send me a picture of you in Chippendales.
Oh, yeah.
So if anyone, you guys take his advice because you looked great for Chippendales, I will say.
Thanks. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could have gone, but
Next time,
let me know.
Okay.
Because I'm a huge dance fan. Okay, great. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Justine.
Yeah, and you guys, I will be headlining Comedy Works in Denver, the Downtown Club September 8th, and the South Club September 11th. Tickets at comedyworks.com. Otherwise, this has been a dream come true. Oh,
you're sweet.
Follow Ian, support all his new business ventures, and
Thanks, everybody.
watch 90210. We'll see you next time on Glitter and Garbage. Bye.
Glitter and garbage.